Quadia on a topic, reinventing finance to support transformative business models. Welcome, Guillaume.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. So talking about the title, Reinventing Finance to Support Transformative Business Models, I'm really going to focus on sustainability and the need to rethink systems to allow us to get to this famous one planet consumption per year. There's a great revolution going on among the entrepreneurs. I mean, they're reinventing products and services to answer to this common good, to answer to the social and environmental issues. They're also not only reinventing the products and the services that are creating this common good, but they're also rethinking their whole model and the whole value chain, supply chain, distribution chain, the way their customers consume their products and their services. They're rethinking the governance. They're rethinking offices. They're rethinking many things. And the challenge for us in finance, and when I say finance, I'm going to focus mostly on investment capital, but it also includes people who are in accounting or governments when we talk about taxation. The challenge for us as financiers is not only to provide capital to these organizations, but we have to also rethink how we function, how we relate to these organizations. So the what is happening today? Finance is moving away from fossil fuel, moving away from fast food, investing in renewable energy, investing also in organic agriculture, and many other things that are sustainable. So that's great. That's the what, and that's happening, and massive inflow of capital into these sectors. What is not changing yet is the how, and it's how we are investing. And the key for us is really to rethink our whole framework. And I'm just going back a little bit. Finance is really a means to support the companies that are developing this product and the service that's answering to the common good, the companies being the substance. That's the original intent of finance. Unfortunately, we're seeing things upside down. Finance has become the substance, and companies are often the means for finance to generate a certain type of return, to generate a certain type of risk, a certain type of volatility. So finance has yet to rethink its frame of reference. And that frame of reference has to do with risk perception, benchmarking, time frame, relative performance. And if we don't change that frame of reference, we're not going to provide the proper support to the companies that are rethinking the whole business model to be sustainable. As an example, we can say, okay, we want to be responsible, we'll invest in organic agriculture. So that's the what. But if we drive organic agriculture to be efficient in the old frame of reference, it's not going to work. The old frame of reference would be, and I'm exaggerating a little bit, but having tomatoes, organic tomatoes grown in China, shipped to the United States for packaging, then shipped to Rotterdam for distribution, and going back to the States for consumption. There's a logistical efficiency there. There is a economic efficiency maybe, but if we're looking at sustainability, there's absolutely no efficiency. So for us to be that proper means for companies to be able to develop these products and the services that are really sustainable, then we have to rethink that frame of reference. Not an easy thing to do. Finance is a very regulated industry, so we have to adhere to certain regulatory matters. In Europe, they've launched a responsible investing directive. There's a taxonomy that large financial firms have to abide by. If it's just a tick the box exercise, then it's problematic. Less so in public equity, more so in private equity. Entrepreneurs often have this naive perception that financiers have knowledge. If they have money, they have capital, then they have knowledge. And when they come to a fork in the road and they have to decide whether they want to go left or right, they're going to turn to their investors. And they're going to ask their investors where to go. If we, as financiers, really don't understand the challenges, the issues that are today and tomorrow linked to sustainability, we're going to drive those companies to go on the wrong way, and not be competitive, not answer to social environmental issues that are going to become more and more relevant and important, and will drive these companies to be less competitive. So we as finance, being responsible and saying we are only investing in companies that are sustainable, is only part of the picture. We also have to rethink what we're doing to be able to accompany these companies to sustainability. A big challenge. The other challenge has to do with size. Many of the sustainable initiatives are driven by small companies. The larger companies, the multinationals, understand this. It's very difficult for them to be innovative. They have complicated processes. They have difficulty in changing those processes, changing their habits. And innovation is going to come from the smaller companies. These smaller companies have only a certain amount of capacity to absorb the huge amount of capital that's ready to go into the sustainable world. So how do we look at our ability to invest smaller amounts in these companies and make it meaningful to us as an organization, to our investors and our clients? When we're investing in these truly innovative, sustainable companies, and the amounts are much smaller, the cost of doing business is much higher. Not only there's the financial due diligence, not only is there the financial analysis, traditional financial analysis, but we have to go through an impact analysis. So we're in essence doubling our cost. And that's a huge challenge. So we have to rethink cost. We have to step out of our framework and understand how we can manage these costs without necessarily having the customers bear all those costs. That's a really important aspect. Coming back to the what and the how and the why, and the who, this is a little bit more abstract, and I'm sorry for this, but it's an essential part of investing. Why are we investing sustainably? Are we doing it because governments require it now? Are we doing it because our clients are pushing us to invest in more sustainable companies? Are we doing it because benchmarks are telling us that sustainable strategies are generating better income, better performance? Or are we doing it really to support the companies in getting to that impact that is essential for this one planet per year concept? That why is essential. The financial performance, it doesn't mean if we don't invest just for the money, but we invest for that impact. It doesn't mean we're going to make less money. And we know, and everybody who's investing, all the VCs who are investing in entrepreneurs understand it. An entrepreneur is not creating a company and developing his company just to make money. That's not his objective. His objective is to create a product that's really answering to a huge demand. Jeff Bezos didn't create Amazon to be the wealthiest man in the world. And so the why is important. Why are we doing this? And I think if the why is just to make money, if the why is just to satisfy regulatory issues, or just to satisfy trends, we're going to be inefficient, and we're going to be the weak link of the drive towards sustainability. So I think the why has to be that impact, that social and environmental impact, and how we're getting to it. The who is important as well. The who is, who are we doing this for? Are we doing it for the companies? Are we doing it for investors? Are we doing it for us? If we're working in a bank, are we doing it for the bank? So the what is happening, in some way, the what is happening, it's this massive inflow of capital towards companies that have sustainable strategies. The how is happening to some extent. It still needs to be worked on, and it needs to be changed. The why and the who is still far behind. So this is the way finance can reinvent itself. Really doing away with benchmarks, traditional benchmarks. I know there's a regulatory push to benchmark your returns. Pension funds have to do it. Most funds have to do it. But I think we have to do away with benchmarking, because if we don't do away with benchmarking, we're going to drive the companies to get to a certain performance that's comparable to what standard market investments can give, where in fact what they're doing and the risk associated with investing in them is completely different than traditional companies. Benchmarking is a real problem, and I think a real bottleneck in getting to that efficient finance. Do away with benchmarking, rethink risk, and it's no longer the risk of investing somewhere. It has to be the risk of not investing somewhere. Time frame also has to be rethought. The truly innovative impact solutions take time, and they're going to need more time. And I think we have to give ourselves a longer period of time. We do it with real estate. We do it with entrepreneurs. Do it as well. They don't give themselves a time frame. And I think as investors, we have to rethink that time frame. This traditional 5-year, 7-year private equity structure is a little bit complicated. So we have to rethink that. I don't necessarily have the solutions, but we do have to rethink that. And then the performance. We cannot function with relative performance. We have to go to absolute performance. And I think each company should be looked at and say, what is the optimal performance according to the risk that we're taking, investing in this company, the time frame it will take for that company to get to where it needs to get to success. And how do we optimize that performance over a certain period of time? I focus a lot on investment, but if we get to accounting and taxation, and there's little influence that we can have if we're in investment. But if we are functioning within the large accounting firms, or we are working for the government and looking at taxation, we have to rethink as well. How many companies are basing some of their development strategy to meet certain accounting norms, to meet certain taxation norms? So taxation has to be rethought. Companies that are providing the common a product that's answering to this common good, to answering to the social environmental issues, are bringing down the cost of governments and are bringing down the cost to society. So how can we tax companies differently? That has not been done yet. There's a lot of, from the taxation point of view, there's a lot of demand for companies to report on how they are satisfying certain social environmental norms, to report on CO2 emissions, but we're not adapting to the taxation. We're not adapting that taxation. So the reporting is creating a lot of work, creating a lot of on the entrepreneurs without necessarily the benefit behind. Accounting as well. Accounting has to be rethought. How do we integrate social and environmental added value into the accounting, the goodwill, um, and and uh, and give leverage to a company's balance sheet. All of this also impacts valuation on the companies. Today, social environmental issues are seen as a necessity, and so the cost of doing business. But really, we're misvaluing these companies who are providing a huge amount of benefit to society. So it has to be a collaboration on the whole finance sector, not just investment, but accounting, taxation. Um, uh, we have to do this because we can't be reactive to these investments. We're putting all the onus on companies right now. Um, but as they say, who has the money has the power. And we have a huge amount of power. And if we are weak in understanding how to get to sustainable world, the rest of the value chain is going to be weak, and that's a huge responsibility. So we have to go way beyond a tick the box exercise. We have to go beyond traditional investing frame of reference frameworks, and we have to dare have the courage to rethink everything, and build up from scratch a new investment model that takes in consideration, I'll call it nature. It's a challenge, and I know when we're big organizations, it's very difficult to do. But most of the VC firms that are investing in small enterprises have the small enough size to be able to innovate in that way.